Welcome back, friends. In today's session I want to discuss with you in detail about the effect of auxins on roots and shoot. Now I know you have already discussed this, but today I want to go into detail. Now the first thing you need to know is about the distribution of auxin, and one among the factors affecting the distribution of auxin is sunlight. So if we have sunlight here, the coleoptile tip, the tip of the coleoptile or the tip of the shoot seems to be involved in the perception of the stimulus for the distribution of auxin. So auxin, they can distribute themselves to downward, but in the presence of sunlight the rate of distribution is slow. So we need sunlight in order to stimulate a kind of distribution of auxin from the apex to downward. Now if the sunlight tend to illuminate this coleoptile tip overhead, that means the molecules of indole acetic acid, which we said is the most common type of auxin, tend to distribute from the coleoptile tip to downward vertically, because the direction of illumination of sunlight is overhead. But if the sun tend to illuminate on the side, that means the direction of distribution of auxin is always away from the sunlight direction. So auxin, they will be distributed to the shaded side, and as we know, as we said in the previous session, the higher concentration of auxin tend to stimulate shoot growth, while the lower concentration of auxin tend to stimulate root growth, but it tend to not stimulate shoot growth at all. Now as you can see, this higher concentration of auxin in the shoot will stimulate cell growth and elongation in this side of shaded, in this shaded side, and then the coleoptile will bend to that direction. Now I want us to move to a graph and to see how that this can be illustrated by a graph. The graph looks similar to this one, but is somehow different. Now let's move to that graph and see how these effects they can be seen in a graphical presentation. So here is our graph, and as you can see from this graph showed the effect of auxins on different parts of the plant growth. And as I said in the previous sessions, that auxin tend to stimulate the growth of shoot at a higher concentration, but tend to stimulate the growth of root at a lower concentration. I like this graph because it is more details as compared to the first one. Now here we have the degree of stimulation of growth in this vertical axis. So we have inhibition and we have stimulation. Here is 0, no inhibition, no stimulation. And as you can see, this concentration of auxin, which is 10⁻⁶, it doesn't stimulate the growth of roots at all, and it doesn't do any effect in the plants. As we increase the concentration of auxin to 10⁻⁵, then it tends to stimulate the growth of root to a certain extent. And then as you can see, as we increase the concentration of auxin to about 10⁻⁴, the degree of stimulation of root growth is maximum. However, if we are increasing concentration of auxin more to 10⁻⁻3, then it starts to inhibit the root growth. It is that the degree of stimulation of root growth starts to be lowered. Then to the concentration of 10⁻⁻2, already it goes down below 0. That means it is the inhibition. And to the concentration of about 5, because here is 1, here is 10, about 5 concentration ppm, it tends to inhibit the growth of root at all. So from concentration of about 5 to higher, root growth is not stimulated, it is inhibited at all by auxins. Now as you can see, low concentration tend to stimulate the growth of root, but low concentration there is no effect on the shoot growth, no effect at all. So this is very important to know, because even in some of the effects in roots and shoots, we will expect the same effect to occur in roots and shoots. For example, in geotropism, for horizontally placed root and horizontally placed shoot, both of them they are horizontal, and the auxin they are pulled by gravity to downward. Now the downward pulling of auxins in shoot will result into elongation of the downward cell more than the upward cell, because the higher concentration of auxin in shoot tend to stimulate growth, while the downward accumulation of auxin in roots will lead to the inhibition of roots growth at downward side. So the cells on the upward side will elongate more because of the lower concentration of auxin will elongate more and will lead to the positive geotropism. So when we are talking of aspect of positive and negative geotropism, it is the effect of distribution of auxin. So the higher concentration of auxin, which tend to stimulate the growth of shoot, it inhibits the growth of roots. So high concentration of auxin tend to stimulate shoot growth but inhibit root growth. And I hope for this video you have already understood how the auxin tend to stimulate geotropism, and how the auxin tend to stimulate the positive geotropism of roots and the negative geotropism of shoot, and how the effect of auxin concentration on shoot and roots. So thank you everybody. Don't forget to subscribe the channel and to share the video, the link of this video to your fellow students, so that they access this video. Thank you, and later I wish you nice studies.